tubular structure, and that is where the resistance was achieved.
To accomplish this, each tower had 4 basic components.
First, you have a traditional core. These are the columns in the core and the columns rising about 110 floors high. There are 47 such columns on the inside.
And what made this structure so technically innovative was its steel perimeter tube.
This is a series of massive columns that goes up all the way high in the building, ringed by very deep spandrel beams.
It's like a box, and the box can be very, very...
It was topped by a hat truss, a set of steel braces that provided additional connections among the core columns and between the core and perimeter columns.
The purpose of the hat truss is twofold. It was to minimize the sway of the building in case of very strong winds, including hurricanes, but also to act as a supporting structure that would carry the television antenna that was at the top of WTC-1. Beyond that, you had the slabs.
The floor slabs consisted of 4-inch thick concrete on a steel deck, supported by a grid of steel bar trusses that connected to the perimeter tube.
Of the planes to the point where the structure began to collapse.
The way we do these analyses is that the term is discretize, cut up into small pieces all the objects that are involved in the event. And we apply the laws of physics to each one of those small pieces.
In their analysis, a Boeing 767, the type of aircraft that struck the Twin Towers, is modeled with 50,000 small pieces. The building, 700,000 pieces. Flying at 500 miles an hour, American Airlines Flight Number 11 struck the north face of the North Tower.
The airplane itself gets shredded, but those fragments continue their path through the building.
But it damaged the center of the face and also the center of the core of the building, which is the place where all the stairs and elevators and bathrooms are.
20 out of the 47 columns in the core were either severed or badly damaged, but the North Tower managed to restabilize, helped by the roof truss, originally designed to carry the television antennas.
That truss had the advantage of being able to pick up some of the interior columns and hang them from the top, transfer the loads to the outside.
Still, the tower was being undermined by thousands of airplane fragments flying through the building.
And in fact, what it was also doing was stripping off the fireproofing that was in there to protect the structure under normal fires. If you're just losing 10 or 20% of the insulation on the fireproofing, you'll have a large effect.
And that's what happened to the core columns in the North Tower.
This is the zone where we believe the fireproofing was substantially stripped off.
The South Tower, which was hit by United Airlines Flight Number 175, lost 29 out of 59 columns on its south face.
However, it is their location that is important. They were at the corner of the core, and therefore introducing this eccentricity in the damage.
Each airplane was carrying a large amount of fuel.
You can think of as a very big match. It started fires on multiple floors over large areas all at once.
As other investigations also revealed, the strength of steel without fireproofing degrades dramatically at temperatures like those in the World Trade Center that day.
By the time it's up to about 1,100 to 1,300 Fahrenheit, it's lost half of its strength. And when we get up into the 16, 1,800 Fahrenheit, it basically has no strength left. So when it's losing its strength, obviously it can no longer fulfill its structural purpose.
This is a graphic of the columns of the South Tower before the attack. The green indicates that the structural load on the building is within its capacity.
In the undamaged state on that day, it's all green. Actually, less than 20% of the available capacity of the tower is in use.
But although the roof truss played such a vital role in helping to stabilize the building after it lost many of its columns, it too began to fail, weakened by the fires.
And it finally hit a point where those columns could no longer support the floors above. And in the South building, of course, there were a lot more floors above than there were in the North building.
Along the east face, between floor 78 and 84, you see this band of red that is traveling down the eastern face of the building, creating a zipper-like effect. The top of the building tilted a little bit before coming down. That tilt, a southeasterly tilt, corresponds to that zipper.
So then the columns gave way and the whole building began to pancake down.
Why did the South Tower fall after 56 minutes, while the North Tower remained standing for 103 minutes after the attack? It had to do with the damage pattern in the core.
In the North Tower, it's central, it is symmetric, as opposed to the South Tower, where it is not central, it is eccentric.
In the North Tower, it was primarily the core where the collapse began.
If you keep your eye on the roof antenna, you will see it started sinking in before the perimeter tube starts sinking in. It substantiates that the core gave in first at the impact floors, not elsewhere, started coming down, and then dragged along the perimeter tube.
In September of 2000,